Every single day, thousands of people clock into McDonald's expecting nothing more than a long shift and a paycheck. But for some workers, that shift never ended the way it was supposed to. What really happens behind those golden arches when the cameras are rolling, the managers look away, and the safety rules get ignored? Case 1, Carlos Mejia, Houston, Texas, 2018. It was a Tuesday morning, and Carlos Mejia was already moving fast. He was 24 years old, 3 years into his job at a McDonald's in Houston, Texas. He knew that kitchen better than anyone. Every fryer, every drain, every slick patch of tile near the back prep station. That morning, he was assigned to clean the deep fryer units before the breakfast rush hit. It was routine work. He had done it dozens of times before. But routine is exactly when people stop paying attention. The fryer oil had not been given enough time to cool. It was still sitting at close to 300 degrees when Carlos reached in to remove the basket. His foot caught the edge of a floor mat that had been bunched up near the drain. He slipped. His right arm went straight into the oil. The scream brought 3 co-workers running. They found him on the floor, his arm scalded from the wrist to the elbow, the skin already separating. He was rushed to hospital and spent 11 days in a burns unit. OSHA investigators arrived within 48 hours. What they found was straightforward and damning. No cool-down procedure had been posted. No non-slip mat policy was enforced. The fryer cleaning schedule had been pushed earlier that morning to speed up prep time. The fine issued to the franchise owner was $12,675. A McDonald's corporation posted $23 billion in revenue that same year. Carlos lost partial use of 2 fingers on his right hand. He never went back. No criminal charges were filed. No manager was disciplined. Just a fine smaller than a used car, paid quietly, and forgotten by lunch. Case 2, DeAndre Arnold, Chicago, Illinois, 2020. DeAndre Arnold was 19 years old and 8 months into his first real job. It was a night shift at a McDonald's on the south side of Chicago, January the 2020, just after midnight. The dining room was empty. The drive-thru had gone quiet. His manager told him to mop the back storeroom and then take out the grease trap waste. It was a 2-person job. Everyone knew that. The grease trap container was heavy, awkward, and needed 2 sets of hands to move safely. But they were short-staffed that night, the way they almost always were. DeAndre did it alone. He was dragging the container toward the back exit when the handle gave way. 80 pounds of hot grease waste tipped forward and came down on his legs. He hit the floor hard. The liquid soaked through his uniform and onto his skin within seconds. A coworker found him 7 minutes later, still on the floor, unable to stand. He was taken to hospital with second-degree burns across both shins and his left thigh. The investigation found no maintenance record for the grease trap handle. It had been flagged as damaged 6 weeks earlier in an internal report. Nothing had been done. The franchise was fined $18,500. DeAndre spent 4 months in recovery. He filed a civil suit. It was settled out of court for an undisclosed amount with a non-disclosure agreement attached. McDonald's denied all liability. The manager who assigned him the solo task was still working at that location a year later. Case 3, Maria Santos, Orlando, Florida, 2016. Maria Santos was 38 years old and had worked the morning shift at a McDonald's near Orlando's tourist strip for 6 years. She was dependable, always early, the kind of worker managers relied on without ever saying so. On the morning of August 4th, 2016, she was restocking the drink syrup lines in the back service corridor. The corridor was narrow, poorly lit, and ran alongside the walk-in freezer. A CO2 tank used to pressurize the soft drink system had been left unsecured against the wall. A delivery cart clipped it on the way through. The valve snapped. The tank became a projectile. It struck Maria in the chest and pinned her against the freezer door. My co-workers heard the impact from the kitchen. By the time they reached her, she was unconscious. She was airlifted to Orlando Regional Medical Center with 3 broken ribs, a punctured lung, and a fractured collarbone. She survived, but spent 2 months in hospital and never regained full lung capacity. OSHA cited the franchise for failure to secure compressed gas cylinders, a standard requirement under federal safety code. The fine was $9,800. Maria was unable to return to full-time work. Her medical bills exceeded $140,000. The franchise owner's insurance covered a portion. Maria covered the rest. No one from management faced any consequence. The corridor is still narrow. The freezer is still there. Case 4. James Whitfield, Birmingham, Alabama, 2021. James Whitfield was 51 years old and had spent the last 4 years working the closing shift at a McDonald's in Birmingham. He was calm, consistent, and well-liked. On the night of February 9th, 2021, he was cleaning the roof drainage system on a small raised maintenance platform at the rear of the building. It was a task assigned to him by the shift supervisor. James had never been trained for roof access work. He had never signed off on any elevated work safety form because no such form existed at that location. The platform railing had a loose bracket that maintenance had noted 3 months prior. It had not been repaired. James leaned against it while clearing a blocked drain. The bracket gave way. He fell 11 feet onto the concrete service area below. A delivery driver found him face down 20 minutes later. James suffered a traumatic brain injury, 2 fractured vertebrae, and a shattered wrist. He spent 6 weeks in intensive care. The long-term neurological damage left him unable to work or live independently. His daughter became his full-time carer. OSHA fined the franchise $24,000 for fall protection violations and failure to provide safety training for elevated work. The fine was contested and reduced to $16,400 on appeal. James will require care for the rest of his life. The platform was repaired the following week. It took them 4 years and a broken man to fix a loose bracket. Case 5, Kevin Lord, Los Angeles, California, 2019. Kevin Lord was 29 years old and working a double shift at a McDonald's in East Los Angeles on a Saturday in October 2019. He was tired, and he had already been on his feet for 9 hours when his manager asked him to help with a refrigeration unit that had been making noise in the back prep area. Kevin was not a technician. He had no refrigeration training. But the regular maintenance contractor had not been called, and the manager did not want to lose the unit over a weekend. Kevin climbed behind the unit to check the back panel. The refrigerant line had a slow leak that nobody had reported. In the confined space behind the unit, the gas concentration had built up quietly over days. Kevin lost consciousness within minutes of entering the space. A coworker noticed he hadn't come back and found him slumped behind the unit. He was resuscitated on scene by paramedics but suffered hypoxic brain injury from oxygen deprivation. He lost his short-term memory function and was unable to return to any form of employment. His mother quit her job to care for him. OSHA cited the location for failure to maintain equipment, failure to assess confined space hazards, and assigning untrained workers to technical tasks. The total fine was $21,000. The franchise owner paid it within 30 days and issued no public statement. Kevin was 29 years old with his whole life ahead of him. He walked into work on a Saturday and never walked out the same. Behind those golden arches, the cameras caught everything, but nobody in charge ever had to answer for it.